everybody, in today's video I'm going to be showing you a very pretty witch with a very kind of over-the-top hat, lots of embellishments across the front of the hat, lots of glitter, glitter in her hair, glitter on her eyes. Very pretty. Again, hot pink hair. I said again because I've been into hot pink lately, so I've been adding hot pink into all sorts of Halloween designs, which you might not normally expect, but I've been feeling the pink lately. So we've got a little hot pink hair, purple clothes, purple lips, very glamorous, very over the top, very pretty. I hope you guys like it as much as I do, and don't forget to click subscribe to see all my future videos as well.
So we are going to begin with an overlay of black acrylic across the entire nail. I typically do not do overlays of black acrylic, but sometimes I just get the urge to challenge myself, and that's where we are here. And black acrylic to me is one of the biggest challenges to complete an overlay with. It is hands down the hardest color to do just a nice smooth layer over the top of an entire nail. So every once in a while, just to, exercise my skills, stretch my wings, I will do so. Otherwise, if you didn't want to do that, you could simply do a clear acrylic overlay or no overlay at all, depending on what you're planning to use this nail for, and apply a layer of black gel polish instead, which would black out the nail just as well. So we're going to encapsulate this. Since the layer of black acrylic was very thin, make sure it's nice and strong, and then after that has been completed, we're going to file the nail into shape with our e-file. Because this is a really long nail, an e-file on its own typically will not suffice, and you'll have to use a hand file as well. I always do, especially on my stilettos, just to make sure that it is nice and smooth and the lines are crisp. After that's done, I'm going to be applying a layer of a chrome base, and then I'm going to use a little piece of sponge, and I'm going to grab some really pretty royal blue chrome, and I'm going to burnish that into the surface of the chrome base, dust it off, and apply a layer of gel sealer. The video does not do this background justice. It is so beautiful. It is such a rich blue foil color that it looks absolutely stunning in the sunlight, and just in general, it's so pretty. It's so much brighter than what the video shows it. But then after that is done, I'm going to start sculpting my witch's face. I'm going to take a pale nude color, and I'm going to begin with a nice oval shaped face, add a little bit more depth to it. Whenever I'm sculpting a human figure, I always start with their face. And then after I have that done, and it's usually very thin, it's not very tall, even though I will eventually want it to have a little bit more height to it, but it's just to kind of get that first basis down, just to kind of get a feel for where it's going, how big it is, not worry about how thick it is, not worry about it being too thick, just making sure that I get a nice smooth start. After I have that done, then I'll go through and I'll thicken it up as I just did. Sometimes that's still not as thick as I will end up needing it to be in the end, but it still just brings me a little bit more detail. After that, I'm going to be adding her neck and then what fits of her shoulders, because this is about the middle. Her head started about the middle of the nail, and then it's a stiletto, so it's going to taper and get thinner and thinner. Her actual shoulders will not show on this, but just kind of flare that area out towards where her shoulders would be. And then brush the nude tan color down the nail so that it sort of softly blends into the tip of the stiletto. As you are adding more details, make sure that your color that you're using is fully covering by her neck so that it doesn't show the dark blue or black or whatever color is behind it through. Sometimes with a tan or light colored acrylic of any species, it doesn't fully cover, it isn't very opaque. If that's the case, you may have to do a white base or something underneath it to make sure that the background color doesn't show through. Hopefully you don't have to do that. This color I am using is from Double Dip, and all of the Double Dip colors that I will use throughout this video will be in the description box below, as well as my discount code. So if you're in the mood for some new acrylics, these ones work absolutely beautifully. I highly recommend them for art sculpting like this. And just regular, I use them as overlays on my nails all the time. They work so well, and I've had people question a couple times that it's a dipping powder brand. Can it be used as acrylic? Is that the product that I'm using from their website? It is. I use their dip powders as acrylic. They are chemically the same product. Usually dipping powder is slightly finer milled so that when you dip it, it looks nice and smooth. In my mind, that makes it even better for sculpting, so it is a beautiful thing to use a dipping powder for acrylic. However, if you're going to be doing that and you're looking at a different company that when somebody hasn't, you haven't heard a testimony from that it works well, make sure you either look on the company's website that they say that they can be used as acrylic. Ask the company. If you get a sketchy answer back from them, do not purchase it. There is so many low quality or chemically dangerous products in the nail world out there that are on the market, that are being marketed to consumers for home use, that you really need to be careful about. So before you go shopping at any nail company, do some research, check it out, send them an email, see what kind of response they give you. If they act like they don't know what you're talking about when you ask them a simple question like, can your dipping powder be used in a liquid and powder system or be used as acrylic? If they can't answer that question for you, don't buy their products, even for their original intended use. The company should be able to answer those questions. If they can't, run, basically is the gist of it. Same thing with gel products. If you go and you ask a company a question about their gel products, if they cannot answer you any question essentially in a educated, clear manner, then that is not a company that you should be purchasing from, especially if it's a question as simple and as straightforward as what are the curing times. If the response you get does not make a whole lot of sense, I would not purchase from them. Or do your products require a base coat? If they say something that says yes and no at the same time, I've seen so many answers like that where somebody goes, does this product need a base coat? And the answer you'll get will just be something like, we recommend that you use a base coat, so yes, but no, you probably don't need to. Something like that. You get this really weird, not very clear answer. Don't buy from them. Oh man, that was not my intention for this voiceover, but I feel like I had to get that off my chest. So now that we are through that little rant on products that are out there that should never be purchased, we're going to take a peek back at our witch. At the moment, her eyes look super bulgy, which the whole time I was sculpting this, I was thinking to myself, is this the right idea? Did I have this right, or am I losing my mind? It was right. She turned out absolutely stunning. At this stage, it's like, those transformation videos that are on the internet where you think, oh my goodness, this person cannot be the same as this, this other person, versus like makeup versus no makeup. And there's videos where people are taking off their makeup and they completely change. That's 100% what this witch reminds me of at this particular moment. She's got a very prominent nose, very bulgy looking eyes. You would never think she turns out as this beautiful fairy witch that I have finished at the end, but she does, I promise. I'm going to take a rich purple and I'm going to be adding her shirt or dress or whatever it is across the tip of the nail, making sure that I kind of bring it down into a deep V. You obviously would not have to do it that way. Whatever kind of clothing style you want to give your witchy, go ahead and do so. I'm going to just smooth that out. I do want this to maintain that stiletto shape, so I want to try to make sure I bring all of that down into a nice tapered point. Gonna keep adding the shoulders, make sure that I completely cover all of that tan acrylic that I don't want to be able to see on the sides, so look at it from all angles. This purple is so beautiful and it goes with the rich blue background color so well. Because I knew I was going to be giving her hot pink hair, I wanted to make sure that the colors around the hot pink were a little bit darker, a little more jewel toned, because that will make it so that the hot pink really, really contrasts and shows up. Using the same purple, I'm going to be adding her eyebrows. I'm going to be sculpting in the eyebrows. If you do not have confidence sculpting thin little details like this, then I would probably recommend that you paint the eyebrows on with a gel paint or a acrylic paint. If using acrylic to sculpt like this is sometimes, especially when you're doing a darker color like this purple on top of a lighter color like her skin tone, it can get a little bit iffy. And so if you're worried about either color bleed or just not getting the lines exactly how you want them, there is no issue just going through with some paint instead. I'm going to use the hot pink color that I'm using for her hair as a little bit of blush on her cheeks. Still definitely getting like troll person feelings off of her current look. And when you ever sculpting something or you're drawing something and you have this, oh man, this is not going to go how I envisioned it in my brain, but you just keep pushing forward. That was 100% with this one. I've added in her lips with the same color that I've used for her eyebrows and her dress. And then using a really pretty silver sparkle acrylic, I'm going to be adding a little bit of eyeshadow to her eyes. All throughout this whole video, this whole design, I wanted to add touches of glitter and chrome and all of the different embellishments across her hat. I wanted it to be very, very glamorous. She's, got a night on the town and she's all decked out. So we've got that for her eyeshadow, such a pretty color of silver. And now we get to start doing the fun of her hair. So I'm going to take a really bright pink acrylic and I'm going to make little snake shapes with it by pressing it back and forth against itself on a nail form backing. Once it has reached a point where I can essentially pick it up with my gloved hands, I'm going to pick up each section and I'm going to hold it on to the nail in the shape of how I want her hair to be. If you are going to want to give her curls or a different hair, texture, make sure that you work in a slightly different fashion. If you want to make this type of a style and you do want to make curls instead, I will highly recommend that you watch a video that I did for NTNA Nails Next Top Nail Artist a few years ago that definitely shows a full head of curls, and it's a pretty, straightforward video on curls. So if that's something that you are interested in, if you want to give her a different type of hairstyle, so curls instead of these waves, that would be the video to go see. But keep sculpting those pieces of hair on the nail form backing, picking them up, placing them on the nail until eventually you have a nice, full, complete head of hair. After that's done, you can start sculpting her hat. Because there's so many different jewel tone colors already in this, I decided to go with a classic black hat. So I'm going to sculpt the very top of the hat on my nail form backing, and then I'm going to leave that to cure the same type of a texture as I did for the hair. So it's still a little bit flexible, but for the most part will hold its shape. Place that where I want it on the nail, kind of hold it out so that it sticks a little bit forward. And then with more black acrylic, I will add the base of the hat that is going to wrap around her head. Just kind of press that in. If you do have a gel sealer over your background like I do, or a really slippery gel top coat, then sculpting with the black acrylic on top of it should not leave any staining or any residue, because the acrylic will just slide across it very easily. So it won't leave, like I said with the purple eyebrows, it won't leave that that residue. The gel top coat in the background will protect it from that. Going to adjust the hat a little bit more, kind of give it more of the shape I was hoping for. And then after that's done, keep adding a little bit more of the acrylic layers to the hat, bulk it up a little bit, bring it forward so that it looks like the edge of it, the top edge of it, is at the same thickness, the same height as the front of her head. And now back to our nail form backing. We're going to make a thin strip that's going to become the brim of the hat. So don't make it too wide. It's going to actually look very, very thin and very skinny. That's kind of what you want. If it's too wide, it's going to take over her face. So you want to keep it a little bit more narrow than what you would probably imagine the brim of a witch's hat would be. And it's going to just kind of add effect, and it's going to just make it a little bit sleeker so it doesn't distract away from her face. So place that on the front of her face. If it's too long, don't worry about that at the moment if it goes off the sides further than what you want, but make sure that at this particular juncture you get the hat to be the right angle. So it's the right angle over her face. It doesn't take away from her face. It can have a little bit of a swoop to it. It doesn't have to be perfectly straight across or anything, but just make sure right now you get it so it looks how you want it to be in that respect. Now I'm going to go back to my nail form backing, because there's a little gap behind the brim where it would kind of wrap around to the back of her hat. You're going to make these little triangles with more of the black acrylic as little fillers pieces. So pick those up and you're going to place those on to fill that little gap. After those little pieces are on, you may find that you want to cut extra of that hat rim off. Go ahead with a manicure scissors and just snip it. Use a manicure scissors that's old. Don't use one that you're currently using, especially if it's on clients or yourself on a person. Make sure it's one that is only used for projects like that. Repeat the process by making another little triangle piece for the other side. While you're waiting for that one to cure enough to pick up, I filled in the gaps and smoothed out the transition on the ones that are on this side. I'm going to add the second one to the other side, add a little bit more black acrylic to smooth it out so it looks like it's one continuous piece of acrylic, not like it's a whole bunch of little pieces that you glue together and Frankenstein together. So smooth it all out so it looks nice and continuous. And after you're done with that, you are in really good shape and you can start doing a lot of the more fun stuff for the last little finishing details to your witch to really bring her to life. The first things I'm going to do is I'm going to detail the few facial features that I want to actually have outlined, which is with brown paint. I did a little bit of outlining on the bottom of her nose and then just a little bit defining her chin. But then with black, I'm going to add her lash line. Just like I've been saying all along, I want her to be really glamorous, really glitzy, really, made up. So we're going to be giving her a really nice defined lash line, do a little bit of a cut crease on her eyelid, and then with some more of that black paint, give her very long, luxurious eyelashes. Not so long that you look at this design and you say, wow, look at those eyelashes, but long enough that she looks like, she's probably wearing a set of false eyelashes or nice mascara or something. She looks like she's, she's ready for a night on the town, causing mischief or whatever it is she wants to do. I'm going to use that black to add a little bit of a detail separating her lips. And then using a blue paint that I know for myself, because I've used it before, dries down to essentially clear. It will give a glow of blue to the hat. So I don't actually want these bright blue streaks on the hat, but it will just bring this kind of blue tone out in the hat is what I'm going for. I'm adding a little bit of a pink highlight to her lips. And after I have just that little, pink touch on the lips, I'm going to take some white paint and I'm going to outline her hat. I didn't want the outlines to be very thick, very bold, very, smooth, bright, intense lines. I wanted little fluttery lines just to make it so it looked like there was a glow behind her, like the moon is behind her and you can see the little bright outline of her hat, just to really separate the black hat from the really dark background color. It doesn't take much, but just a few little specks of white really go a long way in this particular little detail. And then a couple little brown dots across her cheeks for some freckles. And then I'm going to take a glitter pink mix, so it's pink glitter mixed with a little bit of top coat, and I'm going to be applying that to select strands of her hair. Not all of them, but just a few and just sections of them to bring out a little highlight, a little sparkle highlight throughout her hair. Do little pieces at a time. Assess, decide if that's a good amount of glitter, if it needs more, depending on your personal preferences. You may be like, the eyes, that was enough glitter for me, her hair does not need any. Or you can be like, what, this hair needs to be all out glitter. So you kind of have fun with that. After that has been cured, I'm going to take some jewelry gel and I'm going to apply a band of jewelry gel across the base of her hat. And then I'm going to grab some studs and some crystals and, just a collection of things that I want to adorn her hat with. I'm going to begin with a moon-shaped stud, and I'm going to place that as kind of the start, kind of the base, the start of my little design. Then grab some stars. I ended up using 3 stars kind of to the one side of the hat, and then I'll put another star on the other side, grab some crystals, fill it in. Just have so much fun with this. This is the part of a design where you get to just kind of let your creative freedom fly free, have fun with it. Don't go in with a specific plan. Don't be like, okay, I'm going to put this one here and this one here. Allow the opportunity to start working on it and see what just seems like it makes sense. Feel what feels right. I had no intention initially of using these pink caviar beads to fill in around all of my little embellishment pieces. And then when I got to the point where I was going to add them, I'm like, what? That would be perfect. I need to add a sparkle of pink right in there. And that's it. This is the end of this one. I absolutely love her. She is just gorgeous, even though she started out looking a little bit, gremlin-y. She really came around. I hope you guys like her as much as I do. And don't forget to click subscribe so you can see all my future Halloween videos and then all my other videos after that as well.